All right, folks, it is my pleasure here to welcome Daniel, the CTO of CasinoCoin, and Jack, the marketing lead from a project that we've been talking about. We've been watching this one for a while. One of the few projects that is building real utility on the XRP Ledger. We love to see it. You guys will always have a spot here on our channel, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation with you guys. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having
us. Thanks for having us.
Now, so much has been taking place in the cryptocurrency space, a bear market, a recession on the global macro financial world. And so we see that, and we still got little crazy developers like you guys that are still building and getting it done out here. And I absolutely love to see it. It was a pleasure to meet you in Vegas, Jack. I really wish you were able to come through, Daniel, but maybe next year. And so I'm excited to hone in on what's new here with CasinoCoin. We're going to talk about the XRP Ledger and how we can start to build real businesses, real utility on the ledger, instead of everyone just holding their tokens and waiting for the moon date. So we're going to have fun in this conversation here today. First off, top of mind, what is new with CasinoCoin? What are you guys building on over there? Let's get a quick rundown of what's new over there with you guys.
Yeah, well, the latest and greatest for CasinoCoin is, we talked about this for a little while now, the P2P bets thing is coming, and I think you want to talk about this a little bit in more detail later. So that's what we're pushing at the moment. We've been talking about it for a while, the drop of a potential CSC NFT collection. This actually divided into two areas. So we're going to have some sort of collectible that's coming. And then we have something that works more like a player pass with one of our partners, where we're going to give out, or where some more benefits are attached to the NFT, which means you're getting some extra spins, maybe some merch, benefits a normal player with the partner can't have. So that's in the works as of now. The technical and the legal stuff has been a bit of a battle. But it's now only down to the art. So we just have to finish the art aspect, get the minting done, and figure out how we're going to launch this in an easy and decent way. So that's on. We just kicked off the 10% special rake back for JustBit, which means if you are a CasinoCoin lobby user, you sign up with JustBit through the lobby, you're getting a 10% extra rake back on your net losses utilizing CSC. We will have to push this a little bit more because I think people don't fully understand how this works. So what usually happens, or what rakeback means, if you play with a casino and you're not winning all the times, hard reality, so sometimes you lose. Let's say you put $100 in, you lost it all. The casino is usually giving you a percentage back weekly, monthly, whatever the time frame is. For JustBit, they have a default house rake back, which I think is around 10%. But now if you're utilizing CSC, you're getting another 10% on top, which technically sets your rake back to 20%. And this goes on top of every other bonus the website is offering you. 20% is pretty awesome because that technically puts you above most of the VIP programs those casinos have. So that's quite a good deal. We're super excited about that. We're trying to pull off something similar with Rock and Roller. And we're still working on getting on board with a couple of the Web3 casinos. The way Web3 is currently going makes it a bit difficult because a couple of the things we would need don't exist on the XRPL, stuff like Wallet Connect, right? Which means you easily can connect your some wallet to one of the services. So we're going to get this fixed. Takes more time than anticipated. Actually, it's more work because Wallet Connect doesn't exist. So we're going to fix that as well. And I think that's the hottest top 3 things that are currently ongoing. Did I forget anything, Jack?
Depending on who you ask, one of the hottest top 3 things could be the Enosis validator that we're setting up right now. So that will give us DeFi and a bridge to other chains, as well as metaverse integration. We're already pretty close with XRP Junkies, so anybody can actually play the demo. I'll have to get you the URL for that, but anybody can play the demo of that right now. It's basically rock and roll slot machines inside of a metaverse that's already working.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's
which
awesome.
will be coming for Expector as well. So it's the same mechanic. Junkies just happen to be a bit faster than Expector.
Now, obviously, with CasinoCoin, we're talking about gambling, so I'm going to put the disclaimer here that you guys need to gamble responsibly. Nothing here is going to be financial advice, and maybe I'll put the gambling addiction hotline in the description down below. I joke at you guys, but this
Yeah.
is real utility, and I wanted to ask, how big is the gambling market worldwide? You guys have any numbers on that?
Yeah,
We
so I
do.
just looked this up before. Sorry, go ahead, Jack.
No, go ahead.
So I just looked this up quick on Google before we joined the call, and they expect the global market to reach 525 billion by 23, which I assume is the end of the year. I just don't have any stats for last year, but it's growing pretty quick. During COVID, online gambling had at a high surge because people obviously couldn't go, so they play online. And with rules and regulations emerging, more people are more comfortable to play online. A funny fact is that the number of women playing or gambling online is way higher than men, which could be seen because they don't want to be seen in public to gamble. Right, so that was a social study I was just reading last week on the social impact on gambling. Because as you said, and I think that's important to point out, just give me a sec. Sorry for
So,
that. People should only gamble as a form of entertainment, right? It's not a means of generating an income. And if you have any issues with gambling or one of your loved ones, check begambleaware.org. It's actually meant to be more for the UK, but it works globally. And for everyone who's utilizing one of our products, if you're having issues, please contact us, right? We take self-exclamation pretty serious. So if you tell us, look, I have some issues, I need to get kicked out of your products, we're happy to do this and make sure you can't touch any of our stuff
Do
again.
you have that for meme coin investors too? If they're addicted to gambling on meme coins, you got a program for them?
That's a good idea. We should probably get the website bememecoinaware.org and see how that goes. Right?
You should. I think so. Now, and so I wanted to get an idea of where the market's at and where it's going, because like we see so much with this internet of value, some call it, this is only going to be expanding exponentially from here. So, is meme coin gambling included in that number? Probably not, that $500 billion number. And then with the products and the capabilities that are being built out right now, I know I'm excited to talk about this with you. The P2P betting mixer, this is only going to grow because it's not going to be, like you said, with the online gambling, phase that's really grown recently, especially during the last few years. You don't have to go to the casino anymore to gamble or to make a bet. And then now you're not going to be just playing online poker. Me and the person that I'm battling with on Twitter, we're going to be able to place a wager on a bet on when XRP is going to go to 589. And I'm really excited about this use case. And so tell me a little bit more about this P2P betting mixer that you guys are building out.
Yeah, and actually the last part is one of the reasons we pushed forward with that. Like you said, so we're trying to figure out how we can expand the use case and the people who are able to utilize the products in a legal way, right? Because when we do something, we always have to be very careful that we're not breaking any laws, right? And we don't want to get in trouble, right? So we like to be free. I don't want to end up in jail about some crypto stuff. So how the app we're currently creating is set up is it's an X app. So you need to be on some best wallet in the space anyway. So everyone should be on some already, right? It's a little X app. You pull it up. You describe what the bet is. And I just did a test bet this morning that says, just for fun, XRP will be 50 cents by the end of the day today, right? And then with a timeout. And then I'll pay my bet amount, which goes into an escrow account. And then other people can see that that bet is available. They can take it. They have to deposit their 10 XRP or whatever. They have to match my call. goes into escrow, and then after the time limit finishes, the first step is that people have to declare, okay, I'm the winner, I'm the loser, right? And that's the very basic first concept we're trying to go for, simply because if you develop these solutions, it costs a lot of time, right, and a lot of resources. So I need to have people dealing with the UI, they have to code it, then it's the infrastructure that needs to be running, someone has to create a back end, all that stuff. So I said this time we're going to do this very different from what we usually do. We're just going to create the very first action that you can do. We're going to put it in an app, we're going to release that. Because what will happen is that people place a bet, especially someone on Twitter you're battling with, right? And you won, and that person will be like, well, I didn't lose.
Right.
That's a problem. So the next level will be that we introduce a system where you can call in a judge or a referee, however you want to call that. And then if there is a dispute, you asking that third person to weigh in and be like, from a neutral point of view, and be like, well, this party won, this party lost. It's not a full ideal way of dealing with that, but the idea is that we're creating a leaderboard where you can see how often someone took a bet, created a bet, how often they did win or lose, and how often they honored their loss, right? So it's like your online betting score, like a social credit score, along with that social pressure to be honest. And then if you have any issues, you would ask for someone that's well known and trusted to be the judge over a bet.
Now, real quick,
Something
Daniel,
that
I'm sorry. I feel like that could be a job for someone in the future, is being a referee of your betting mixer, right? And is there a way for them to get compensated, or they get a little fee for every time they decide a dispute?
we're having conversations about that, how we're going to handle that, because the problem then could be, can you bribe someone
Oh, sure.
into one of the sites? I mean, there are things that are super easy, right? If I make a bet about a football match, that's easy to verify. If it's about I can hold my breath for 10 minutes, and then the other party says, well, you cut off at 9 minutes 59 seconds, it's a bit hard. So we will have to refine and work out the details for the judges to figure out how this works.
Yeah.
The main idea is that we are not getting involved in the settlement of the bets, right? It's not our job, it's P2P. The other idea is if you have someone who makes an outlandish bet, loses, you can expect this is going over social media all the way. Like, oh yeah, I just bet 50,000. Like, who said, was it like, who said I'm going to eat my dick if Bitcoin doesn't reach 100,000?
John McAfee.
McAfee. Yeah, I mean, okay, he's dead right now. So, but stuff like that, right? So,
That's awesome.
yeah, so this needs to be handled.
Well,
We also
we
want
just had another
to,
guy bet that Bitcoin was going to go to $1 million, didn't we?
oh yeah, I think
over 90 days, right?
Yeah. So yeah, he could have done that bet too. See, I love this. I love this. I think this is only going to grow the space, but it's fun. Like for me, that's the type of wagers
yeah.
that I want to bet. And I think that, like you said, what you're doing is you're growing existing markets past where their capabilities have taken them so far. It's a 500 billion market as of today, but this only grows that market. And I think that DLT crypto technology has the capability to do that for other markets as well. I wanted to ask where you guys are at with partnerships with casinos and how the regulatory environment or lack thereof in the United States is affecting you or not affecting you. Where have you guys ran into trouble with that?
So at the moment we have 4 partners. They're all licensed in Curacao. They are available from most countries of the world. There are a couple of exceptions, so everything that's a Dutch crown dependency can't play. A couple of other countries are excluded, and the biggest bummer of that would be the US, because the gambling framework in the US is a nightmare.
Thank God Gary Gensler is protecting us.
Yeah, and I mean, and you made a good point, right? So we were just looking at the gambling framework, and I said this on the James Root show as well. So that's just the gambling part. That's not even the crypto part. So what we're trying to achieve now is figuring out what can be offered to US customers that has a very clear ruling and what is allowed and what's not allowed, right? So game of skill is an option we're heavily looking into right now. We're in the process of getting something kicked off. We just had a huge discussion about this yesterday. So we're gonna go back to the drawing board and figure out how to make this better than we first thought. Because like I said, we don't want to end up in trouble. And then what would be a great help is if the US can finally decide how they want to handle crypto, right? I'm not talking about XRP specifically, I mean crypto at all, right? The situation with XRP is a bit different. So as an XRPL token, it's a bit hard to come in to someone be like, hey, this is the product, this is how this works, and by the way, you have to integrate XRP because of an XRPL token, right? Even if they don't accept XRP, it's still an issue because no one knows what's going to happen. The other side then is, and that's what we have, well, that's what we observe. Even if there is clear ruling on something, can you trust the US government? And technically you can't, because they might gonna change their mind tomorrow morning and say, yeah, these are the rules, but we just decided this morning we're gonna change them. And by the way, we're gonna go after you for the last 5 years of your business. Right? That's a huge problem. However, US markets are super big. 40% of our community is US, and we are desperate to get them something so they can enjoy this, right? So they can enjoy our product and they can use this. And the P2P bet stuff is technically a way because P2P bets aren't illegal. There are even P2P exchanges where you can exchange these bets. There's no difference using the app between you and me saying, oh, we're going to have this outlandish bet.
Yeah, so you guys are dealing with regulations in the gambling aspect of your business and that, and then you also have the crypto lack of regulations that you're dealing with. And so, Jack, when you are going to market this CasinoCoin project and trying to market and bring more adoption to Web3 crypto in general, how are you doing that in the middle of a bear market recession? People are losing interest, people are losing faith, and then you're also approaching companies that have their concerns around the legal ramifications and regulations in the United States as well. So how are you combating that?
I mean, right now it's just do everything as cheaply as possible. I mean, mostly guerrilla marketing. If you look at like Twitter or just writing a blog, that doesn't really take a whole lot of time. Having interviews with people like you know, things like that, as opposed to just like blasting things off, because the reality is right now in a bear market, people just aren't listening. So you could have like a something in Times Square, for example, but most people are just going to walk by it. Like I believe Peppacoin actually had something in Times Square, but how many adults do you think are going to walk by that and go, hey, that looks like something I would invest in, as opposed to just like, why is this cartoon sitting here in Times Square, if that makes sense?
Yeah. And what is your guys' take on, the thousands of XRP Ledger tokens that we now have? You guys have been on the XRP Ledger since 2021, right? And been building out there. What is your guys' thoughts? Because for me, I'm looking at this, and it's the same way that I see in the rest of the space. 99% of this is not a real business. It's not solving a real problem. It doesn't have real utility. And so what's your guys' take on that? Not to name any projects specifically, but for me, I think that I'm still waiting for a lot that's going to be coming to the XRP Ledger after people feel safe building on the ledger. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, this is not only a problem for the XRP, so for the ledger, right? This is across the whole industry. So if you look at, and let's stick with paper for example, and I haven't looked at them in the last days, but as far as I know, could be wrong, but then replace paper with any other meme coin. They're not doing anything, right? So there is no viable business course. So what they're trying to achieve is to just get people hyped up about it. So the idea is buy low, sell high, right? That's the thing. So once you launch something like paper and it's going through the roof, then you have to figure out what you're going to do in order to grow your stuff. So you can do exchange listings. Paper has been listed on Binance quite quick, right? Which is always the most outlandish joke to me. So it had like 30,000 holders, right? It somehow made more than $100 million in volume on Uniswap, right? Then everyone is like, oh yeah, this is a fucking joke. So the smart contract has issues, blah, blah, blah. You see all these red flags, and then they all figure, guess what? No one cares about that. And then all the exchanges is like, oh shit, we're missing out on all this volume. Last time I checked, paper had like $1 billion in volume on Binance. So of course they listed it, right? That's their business. That's how they make money, the listing fees, or the trading fees over 24 hours with a $1 billion mark volume this is quite high. So for tokens on the ledger, some have some good ideas, right? They developing a product. In the meantime, they're going for stuff you can do. You do staking, maybe you do some DeFi-ish thing, whatever that means. You can issue an NFT. You can say you're developing a game, right? That's the classics. There are a couple of easy games that are open source, which you can just pull in and change them a bit, and then they work with your stuff. I've seen a couple, I can't remember what it was, but last week, there was this one product who wanted to do something where you can easily import and export and do payments in XRP, and they wanted to get this like working with QuickBooks, like all the accounting software, and then they figured out, oh, this is not really working because it's quite an expensive thing. So a lot of people have good ideas, but they don't realize that this is a painful process. We're always sitting in a conversation and discussing an idea for like an hour, and then 10 minutes it's like, this is the idea, that's what we should do and how this could work. And then 15 minutes it's about this will not work out good from a legal point of view because we can't do this because we need a license. We can't do this because the regulator won't allow this. We can't do this because we need another license, right? Could be custodial holdings, whatever. It's always a legal pain. And a lot of projects just ignoring these things and they just keep building. But at some point, this is, if you're going to get big, then this is going to bite you in the ass. And then you're getting in real legal trouble.
Yeah. Hey,
I mean,
Daniel,
there are a couple of.
I wanted to follow up on the exchanges and ask you directly, how guilty do you think these exchanges are as far as participating in these meme coins and perpetuating the meme coin seasons in the crypto space that we're going through once again with Pepe and a few other projects that have hit the masses? How guilty are these exchanges of this? Because they're just interested in the money, right? They want the check that they get from the project for the listing fee, and then they want to get all the fees after that. It seems like all they care about is the money. They don't care about actually moving the space forward, because these meme coins to me are an embarrassment to the space, and they're part of holding back the space and giving the regulators more ammunition to go after and clamp down on our space. What do you think about that?
Yeah, they're guilty. I mean, like I just said, if you look at the volume of Pepper on Uniswap, $100 million, right? So imagine you're one of the listing managers at an exchange and your message is always, oh yeah, we're interested in utility. But then there are almost no real products people can use, right? And we can have an argument about what's a real product and what's not. But you're now sitting there and you'd be like, well, we're the biggest, most liquid exchange. People are going to go crazy about this latest trend. What we're going to do if we list this is probably going to the moon, right? Because that's what's going to happen. Of course they list this. And I don't think that paper paid Binance to list, right? It's just a simple math game. They were probably thinking like, oh yeah, 10x on volume, that's $1 billion with 0.001% trading fee. That's $1 million a day. Why would you let that slip? They're a profitable business, or they want to make profits. Of course they do it, right? Exchanges will always tell you, yeah, we're interested in this and we want to bring the space forward, but they will do whatever they can in order to make money, right? And yes, of course, a lot, and that's what's so funny in regards when the Hinman stuff dropped, where the conversation was like, oh, did Ripple pay, I think Coinbase or whatever listing fee, and all of a sudden everyone was freaking out and be like, oh yeah, listing fee. Of course, exchanges charge you to get listed, right? Unless you are paper, you just make this happen. You get 50,000 people interested. You have a swap service like Uniswap where you have outlandish volumes, right? And then you approach an exchange. But by that time, every exchange on the planet would be like, fuck, we want that business, right? That's why you see every tier 2, tier 3, tier 1 exchange jumping on this and they all be like, fuck. If we don't list this on our exchange, our customer base will go elsewhere and they will trade elsewhere. So we're not making the money. Of course, they're going to list the project. That's what they do.
Right. Now, you made a point on Zum Wallet being the best wallet, and obviously with the Ledger saga and drama that took place this week, this is top of mind for everybody. So I wanted to get your thoughts on the Ledger situation. Jack, maybe you can speak on the marketing side. I think this is one of the worst marketing deals that we've ever seen by any company as far as the rollout of this. But what are your guys' thoughts on the Ledger situation and the broader conversation around custody of crypto and wallets?
So I actually think that what they did would be a good idea if they made it a different product, and also didn't have the ability to already push something to the ledger that would make it so this is already happening without people's knowledge. So I think they pretty much created a PR disaster for themselves instead of just making another product and saying, hey, this is going to have a centralized aspect of it, because part of the issue with crypto now is that there are some people that are 100% all in on decentralization, but they don't really know what that means and how that works because it's pretty much impossible. So one example I like to use is, say that your grandma is holding cryptocurrency, right? You don't want her to have all of that in a wallet that she has custody of, because then she becomes vulnerable to scammers and things like that. You'd want some sort of, hopefully more trusted banking system than we have now, for people to say, hey, I'm going to put my crypto into this and then I can use it as I need to. And then if there's a red flag of a transaction, then maybe they can stop it prior to you getting scammed or whatever.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think this is a product that the masses need. The masses aren't like us that, can have a bunch of different wallets and have all of our seed phrases in different places and a whole elaborate scheme for our crypto security. And I make this point too. The people in the third world countries that never have, much more than a few $100 to their name and just need to send half that back home, they don't have time to worry about the custody either. And so
Yeah.
in that regard, I think that you're right, that it is a good product. People are going to need it. The masses are going to need it, but the rollout was definitely a miss, and they should have distinguished it with a separate product. I agree. Your thoughts, Daniel?
Yeah, I mean, I made a tweet in regards to that where I said, look, crypto bros want mass adoption, but can't handle what that actually means. And that's that's the reality.
Yeah.
If my mom is holding some coins, right? And every time she wants something, she's calling me and be like, hey, we need to do this together. Because the problem is, if you're losing $20,000 or you're losing your keys and you can't go anywhere, no one will cope well getting told, you lost the keys to your wallet, we can't help you, right? Total different story. I mean, your bank account doesn't mean that you're 100% safe, but there are some safeguards in place, right? If you never do a transaction over $10,000 with your banking provider, and you all of a sudden do, the bank's probably going to call you or put this on hold. Like Revolut does this all the time. So I was sending a transaction out to a party I've never interacted with before. That was like $5,000, and immediately the transaction got flagged. They sent me an email and they did hold this and was like, hey, can you please triple check this is legit, right? That's not happening with crypto. So you can't expect normal people to just cope well with handling this. So I agree with Jack. This should have been a separate product.
Yeah, 100%. Now, transitioning into a broader conversation about the XRP Ledger and what needs to come next, I think that we can all commend Vitae Vin and what they've built out at the XRPL Labs and Zum Wallet. Definitely love that and the toolkit they're built in to access the X apps and all of the XRP Ledger tokens. And so that's fantastic. But I wanted to ask, what do you guys think is the biggest challenge holding back the XRP ledger right now?
Depending on the angle you're looking at, right? If it's just like onboarding is a problem, depending on what wallet you use, right? If you're using Atomic wallet, it's super straightforward, no questions about that. But we don't want people to use Atomic. We want them to utilize some. Onboarding is a bit difficult, and I'm always using that example. If I bump into you in a supermarket and I'm telling you about this crypto stuff, and I want to get you onboarded into some, it's not a 5-minute process, right? So I can't do this without having pen and paper and get this all set up. While I could onboard you to Atomic in like 30 seconds and send you something and you'll be good. So that's something that needs to happen. On top that, we just need more people to build real solutions, like real products with a real use case. So we need to attract more developers because I think we're still a little above 4 million wallets at the time. I think 80% of these people are just XRP only, right? Let's call them XRP maxis. And the other 20% probably are into IOUs and NFTs and stuff. So a lot of development happening is in the IOU space and in the NFT space, right? There are very little parties doing XRPL only development. So that's something we need to grow. So developers know, hey, I can build something, I actually get the support, and I can turn this into a revenue-driven business, so I can make money with this.
Yeah, what do you think, Jack?
I think it's just the onboarding issue, and we sort of talked about it with the Ledger thing because everybody's sort of having to onboard into a decentralized system, and probably most of the time when somebody tells them that they're onboarding into this decentralized system, it's to make money, and they're not telling, for example, their friends that, hey, here's an app that's a game changer for me in my day-to-day life, as opposed to, I think this is going to go 1,000 times, because then somebody comes in with the idea that something's going to go 1,000 times and they just sit on it forever and never use it, which is one of the huge problems, I think.
Right. I think that
Yeah,
a lot
that's
of people view it as like they're prepping. It's like you got your water, you got your food, you got some batteries, and XRP is just the batteries that you're just going to stuff away and store so that you think that you're ready for the reset. Now, I will say that I'm definitely guilty of not building on the XRPL. I'm not a developer, so I'm never going to be building myself. I'm gonna have to partner up with some smart guys like Daniel that can actually develop and build and code. But for me, speaking personally, like I said before we got started, my excuse is that I feel uncomfortable with the regulatory landscape in my country, and I'm worried that Gary Gensler and his SEC mafia is going to come after me. But I think that the beautiful thing about this is we're about to be one of the first projects through the door on Clarity. And my prediction is that we're going to get Clarity, maybe not directly, but kind of indirectly on the secondary market sales at this summary judgment ruling. That's one of my predictions. And so may Ripple's case continue on? Yes, but I'm hopeful, I'm praying, and I do believe that it's going to come out that, we have clarity on the secondary market. As long as you're not wrapping your XRP in an investment contract that meets the Howey test, you should have clarity. And that's going to allow people like myself that have been on the sidelines, not wanting to step into building yet because I'm worried about the regulatory and the law. We're going to be able to set in and we'll have no more excuses. I won't have any more excuses on why we're not building on the XRP ledger, right? But I think right now what we see is a lack of people building on the ledger for that, but then also the infrastructure that it takes to actually run a node and the fact that you're not getting compensated. Do you think that there's anything that we could do as far as I had the idea of building out something a way that you could compensate the developers building on the XRP ledger, like not going to proof of work, not going to proof of stake, but setting up like a LinkedIn for XRPL developers or similar to like Patreon, to where you could have a developer kind of share his story, why I'm building on the XRPL, why I'm running a validator, and you give people the opportunity to send them $10 a month. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of ways that we could compensate or get people to build and run XRPL validators who might not even need to build a business on the XRPL, but just be validating and get confirmed. I mean, do you guys have any ideas for how we get more developers confirming this network?
Well, when we talk about validators, the idea of compensating them in one shape or form is always a dangerous game because it could raise the question on how some validators are voting on specific amendments, right? So I'm not a fan of every amendment that's being put in, but then I'm having conversation with others. And if I see that the majority of other validators think that's a useful thing and it's about getting across the line and I have no hard stance against it, then I'm more likely to vote in favor. And a good example is probably, I mean, it's kind of a running joke when I say that, but I hate NFTs, but I've been a huge proponent for XLS20, right, and have been very vocal about it and was very active. So we get this across the line, right?
Right.
Fun fact, it's easy to say for me, I hate NFTs while having one of the best NFT viewers on the market that we published. So go check out Non-Fungible, guys. It's an XRP. It's if you're using some, it's already there. Just some advertising here. Not everyone needs to run a validator. So not every developer needs to run a validator, right? If you run a stock node, which can be pretty lightweight, that's probably good enough. So you just submit your transactions or your queries or whatever against your node rather than public infrastructure. People who want to support the network but don't want to put it into a specific party, they can check what Weetzer did. If you just Google XRPL Labs adopt a node, right? Maybe you can put a link in the video description so people can go check that out. So you can
cool.
donate to that. If you are about to support a developer, then the first thing would be just use their product. And if it has a paid service, then think about that. A good example would be Some Pro, right? I can only urge everyone who's using Some, go for a Pro subscription. Comes with Tangem cards, right? If you don't have Tangem cards, you can use this as some backup, like cold storage-ish solution as well. Great product. You should definitely support that. If someone develops a product you might like you're into gambling, then go check out the lobby and sign up via the links in the lobby and gamble a few bucks away. What I've seen yesterday is, I'm not sure if you've seen that, there is a guy who's building a hardware wallet based on, you have a Game Boy, they send you a cartridge, which is, it's really offline device then. You put the cartridge in, it works like a little game and it's creating a random seed, right? I'm gonna buy one of those. Will I use it? I don't know. Do I want to support the developer with like 20 or 50 bucks? Yeah, sure, why not? Because it's an awesome idea. And the main problem across crypto these days is people spend a lot of time building something and then it's not generating any return. And that's a conversation we're having a lot, right? So we have so many good ideas and we build something out and then we're ending up at the stage where we have to say, look, I don't think anyone's ever going to use that. So we need to put this to rest. It doesn't make any sense because if you spend a week on, or if you spend a week on 4 weeks on development, you have 3 people working on that, just the developers, and then infrastructure, someone who's doing Q&A, someone writes documentation, right? 20,000 bucks in a month is nothing on development costs. So how do you get this money back? And this ties back into what Jack said. People these days, or most people, they're just holding on their tokens, which is fine, right? They can do whatever they want. But if you want to help the ecosystem, you should spend your coins or some of your coins once in a while. Doesn't mean you have to spend the coins you already had, right? Some has a good on-ramp at the moment where you can just buy 100 bucks via your credit card and then put those to work. I mean, I do this quite often.
Right.
Purchased a couple of NFTs, even though I don't like NFTs that much, just to support the thing. I bought like 5 ARC plates, never used them till now, so they're still somewhere in my drawer. If someone does something cool on the XRPL and just a couple of bucks, or just where I might purchase something just to support the project, right? Or could be XRPL merch, right? So get yourself a Pineapple Gate Pizza t-shirt, right? Just for shits and giggles. I mean, it's not like thousands of dollars. It's just more money, but it helps people to build something around the ecosystem.
Well, like you said, it's taking value out of your bank account when you use your credit card or whatever. It's taking money out of the old system and it's putting it into our system, right? And we need more of that, right? So I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to get your guys' ideas on some of the new amendments. So what do you guys think of the XLS30 automated market maker liquidity pool? What's your guys' take on this amendment?
I think it's needed. I'm not quite 100% sure of the risks that might be there, right? I haven't looked too much into detail, but what I'm afraid of is the classic game on Ethereum where you just launch a token, you prop up one of the liquidity pools, it looks super solid, right? And it's like 10 of your friends which just put in $100,000 each. You now have $1 million pool. You're just utilizing the AMM to prop this up, get a decent amount of volume. And then once other people pledge volume to your pool, you're just going to pull out because that's what a rug pull is, right? Because people these days don't even know what a rug pull is. So I'm afraid of these things. But
Well, and that's what we saw with the NFTs, right? It's like you said, we need the capabilities. You were a proponent of XLS20 to get in the NFTs, but then you still got our bad actors. And we're never going to be able to stop that. That's the unfortunate part. But yeah, I think you're onto it right there.
So yeah, I mean, it will come. We need it. Other chains have this, right? So we're chasing kind of Ethereum at this point, and a couple of others, right? But Ethereum is probably the biggest and easiest one to generate any sort of revenue. So we have to get this stuff sorted. The XRPL is always chasing stuff that already exists on other chains, right? And this bites us in the ass a lot of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Jack? What do you think?
Did he die?
Jack, I can't hear you. I don't know if you might check your mic.
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Sorry about that. Okay, so onto the automated market making stuff. I think it has potential to be huge for us and other tokens, in the sense that it should create liquidity. So, for example, we have lower liquidity, especially being in the bear market. So, if somebody wanted to take $100,000 and deposit it to one of our casino partners, it's kind of like, what does the casino do to get that money back out of its system? So the automated market making should be huge in the sense that it's creating a pool of liquidity for a casino to say, hey, it's cool that we can take $100,000 worth of CasinoCoin now and put it back into the market without actually affecting the market.
Right. Yeah, and I wanted to ask you guys on the casinos, like how willing are they to get into crypto? Because I feel like the casinos have their own tokens. It's their chips. I mean, this is the same thing that we're doing right here. So you would think that they would want to get in, but I'm assuming that, like many incumbents in the traditional world, it's all about regulatory uncertainty. It's all about the legal aspect of it. But I'm sure that some of them have to be looking at this technology and thinking, we get to basically cut out the bank and we get to function as kind of our own system, right? What are the conversations that you're having with these casinos like?
I mean, we're usually going for casinos that already have some crypto experience, right? So all the casinos we're with, they're like crypto casinos, so they know how this works. If we're talking about a cash-only casino, the conversation can be quite difficult because they will straight out tell you, why should we do this, right? The current system works. Our players currently accept that. Depending on what jurisdiction they're regulated in, they might not be able to take crypto, or they're not interested. So it always depends who you're talking to. Crypto casinos know how this works, right? They're pretty good in risk mitigation when it comes to market swings and that stuff. So that they know the game. Brick and mortar casinos, probably gonna stay brick and mortar because that's their way of doing things. We're gonna see how this goes in the future. It's like I said, it's always depending on who you talk to, right? A crypto casino, the conversation is pretty easy, right? Oh, you're accepting crypto. Can we have a conversation about this? And then we need to figure out if we are on the same level. And an example I'm making all the time is if we talk to a casino, we need to make sure we're on the same level, right? So if we're here, they need to be close to us. It's quite hard to talk to someone who's like here and they have like whales on the system pushing like $50,000 a day through the system, right? Different conversation, because what happens if one of these whales apes into like CasinoCoin, puts that on, and then just wins $2 million in crypto. So now they have to go to the market. They need to purchase the tokens to pay that out, which creates or might create a huge market move. So it's not that easy. The partners we're currently working with, they understand this pretty well, but it's the same size as we are, right? So this works out. We just had a $18,000 or $20,000 win with one of our players like last week. So
Nice.
it works.
Yeah. Now, okay, so back to the XRP Ledger, I wanted to ask Daniel, you've been vocal lately in some of the Twitter spaces I've been listening, and you've been talking about how we can't just be waiting on Ripple and Riddlers to take us to the promised land. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on Ripple, how they're conducting their business, how they are adding value to the XRP ecosystem, what you would like to see from them. And then I also wanted to get your thoughts on what you think they should do with the escrow.
So let's split this up and then just start with the elephant in the room, right? Ripple is a for-profit company. In terms of the escrow, the way it's working right now is, from my point of view, okay, right? I'm not gonna tell everyone, oh, they should definitely burn that, right? It's not up for me to decide. Anyone who comes into this ecosystem is aware of that's the thing that's going on right now. We can argue about the sales strategy, but to us, it doesn't matter, right? So let them have it. They can't access it at once anyway. They can't really hide what they're doing with it. So every transaction is on the chain. So I'm not too worried about that. If we're talking about what we need, and we talked about this a bit earlier, we need more people building, which means we need to create an environment where someone can come in with a solution, build something, and generate revenue. So we need to turn this from hobbyists into full-time developers. Imagine if Wietse and his team would need to have a 9-to-5 job and then build some in their evenings, right? The product wouldn't be as good as it is right now. Then this depends on what people expect. And if we're going to go back to the Riddlers and Moon Boys and buybackers and whatever you want to call them, right? Then, well, if they are just interested in the part of the ecosystem that Ripple is delivering into, then that's fine. If you honestly think that Ripple is the Hail Mary and this super genius company, which is part of the bigger plan, yeah, sure, go for that. Doesn't make any sense, and it's most likely not going to happen, but you can think whatever you want. If we compare this to other ecosystems, especially Ethereum, right? We need good tools, good documentation. It needs to be easy. People need to get the ability to generate revenue. So I know a lot of good coders that are like, well, I would love to work on this full time, but I have no idea how to feed my family if I do this, right? Yeah. And I have to agree on that, because it's not so easy to generate good revenue at the moment. And the best example is if you take today's NFT volume, which I haven't looked into these days today, but if you look at what the marketplaces did in the last 24 hours, volume-wise, let me just look this up real quick. We just say marketplaces 30 days, then Cafe made $268,000 in volume. So now take their fees, right? I don't have the fees in mind. I think it's like, Jack, do you have the fees in mind? Like 1.5%, is that correct?
Actually don't know.
Yeah, so let's even say if it's 2%, right? So if you run the math on how these volumes are coming together and what there is and what's the percentage on how they can earn, and it's like, this is not a sustainable business, right? And that's the biggest bringer, or the biggest sales thing on the ledger happening at the moment, right? And if they can fund themselves from an outside perspective, right? I'm not saying that's the case, because maybe they have some listing fees or super awesome deals I don't know about, but just looking at the statistics I can see from the outside, then it's like, well, that's pretty much devastating. 1% of a total of 565,000, or even 2%, right? That's not enough to handle a team of 5 people.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. So yeah, which goes back to, if you like something, spend some coins with them, right? And if you have a great idea, and you can code, build something.
Yeah, and I
I
think
hope that AMM is going to help us a bit, but like I said, I'm so worried about making it too easy for people to scam that. Because if you compare a token creation to from token creation on the XRPL to Ethereum, it's way easier on the XRPL. Sologenic just launched their IDO launchpad, where token creation is easily on the website. I haven't checked how much it costs you to issue a token. I think that's a super dangerous game in combination with like liquidity pools. Because if this just comes to click a couple of buttons and get this working, everyone can do this. So right now you need to have at least a little bit of understanding on how things work to get this done, right? But if we give people one-click solution, then everyone can do it, which is probably not the best thing. But I might be wrong about that.
I thought that you were going to create the MoonPay DeFi liquidity pool that paid out 589 per month. I thought that was what you were building out there, Daniel. No,
That's actually what I'm here for.
Yeah, and we're going to see it. You already know it's coming. That's the thing, because it's open source technology, and this is the thing with Ripple and the investment that they made. So last year they announced a $250 million NFT fund. And when I saw that, I said, wow, this is incredible. This is great. This is bringing more developers to the ecosystem. This is a serious investment in the XRP ecosystem from Ripple. This is big. But then you go look at the NFTs that have been created so far. Where's the utility? Where's the real business? Where's the problem solved? And so I think it's tough, because you can't have one without the other, right? You need the investments, you need the resources, but you also need real business players to show up, not just guys that are putting memes on the ledger, And so I think that it's a matter of, like I said, once we get through the legal ramifications and the landscape that's holding back so many, I think that we're going to start to see a little bit more of that. That's what I'm excited for. When we start to get NFTs, automated market makers, we're going to get the cross-chain capabilities in XLS38D potentially. They're looking at updating the smart contracts through the hooks amendments. This is big, right? And I think that, like you said, Daniel, Ripple working with some of the biggest institutions in the world, that's great. That's part of it. But we also need to be building here on the lower levels as well, right? This is how, we fulfill all of our dreams, I think, for not just XRP, but for using DLT technology to make our lives better. Now, speaking on that, I wanted to zoom all the way out to the macroeconomic situation and in regards to the debt, currency, and liquidity crisis that this world faces. How much of a part do you think that DLT crypto is going to play in kind of resetting this financial system, helping reset currencies? And specifically, I'm talking about some of the news that we're seeing, gold-backed digital currencies being introduced in some countries, Texas floating the idea. How much of a part do you think that crypto DLT is going to play in resetting the financial system as we know it?
Well, that's a tough one, right? So, I'm in crypto now since 2010. Do I think that the current environment of banking and how everything works is unfair and is giving a disadvantage to a lot of people? Yes, I do, right? But if I look at what crypto is delivering 13 years later, it's just sad. So if you would ask me, then I would have, I kept telling this to people for a long time. If you're interested in crypto and you can afford it, buy some Bitcoin, buy some Ethereum, buy some XRP, put them away. Don't look at them for the next 5 years, right? And maybe you're lucky, maybe you're not, right? Yes, crypto people have a lot of good ideas about how this all can work. I struggle to follow the logic that's applied a lot of the time, right? Like we're gonna tokenize everything, and I heard this in one of the spaces I have been in, like in the last week. Someone said, "Oh, I'm just gonna tokenize my house and put this on a ledger," and now, boom, we have $400,000 value on the ledger. And my question was, Do we? No, we don't, right? So it doesn't mean anything. What does tokenize everything actually mean? What does a financial reset actually mean? What people don't understand, and that's something I said for quite a time. The combination of blockchain technology and KYC, that will be the biggest problem for people, because if everything would be on the blockchain and you would be KYC, there's no way to escape, right? Once you're doxxed or once you're connected to a certain address, all your activities will be transparent. Who wants that? I don't want a national CBDC. I just don't want that. Because given on what happened in the past 5 years, or how other governments are currently handling this, like China with the social credit score system, right? Which was connected to some of the COVID apps they had pushed out, where people then could all of a sudden no longer access a building because it's all interconnected. So I think that part is not a conspiracy theory. So something happens, all your shit is in a CBDC, and now all of a sudden you can't spend your money. Right, so that's a huge problem. DLT at the moment, yes. So a couple of countries or a couple of people have a huge benefit, like sending money across the world, not relying on Western Union. If on and off ramp exists on both sides, great way, right? That's a help. I think that's the minority of stuff that's currently happening. At the moment, and probably for the next 5 years, it's just chasing this dream of getting rich overnight and just pounding on every bush you see on social media, right? I honestly can't. I mean, I see a couple of people I speak to, and they're like, "Oh yeah, freedom of speech, and we all should be free, and the government is overreaching everything," and then they'd be like, "Oh, CBDCs, that's so great." So how do those things go together? That literally makes no sense. But I would love to see crypto. That's a good example I'm making all the time. So I'm dreaming of a world where I can rock up to my gas station, fill up my car with gas, walk to the cashier desk, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, this is 50 euros or whatever." I get a little QR code. I scan this with my Sum wallet, and I pay in crypto. Right? Could be XRP or whatever. And XRPL Labs is already fulfilling this with the POS terminal they built. Right? So that's more the stuff I'm looking for. Are we going to solve the debt problem of the world? I don't think so, because people need to understand, for someone to be rich, there needs to be someone who's poor. That's how the system works, and you won't overcome this. Imagine we would all be rich tomorrow. Who's going to be a plumber, right? Who's going to clean your hotel room? No one's going to do that because everyone is rich. So it's just people trying to push a certain narrative because they bought in low and they want to sell high. And that's the sad reality. Not everyone, right? So I'm hate to be negative all the time, but I don't buy what's currently being pushed so much around social media about how this is going to be a Hail Mary.
You're not going to get all of your CBDC UBI check, Daniel. You're not a nice citizen. They don't like that.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get your full rewards, your monthly stipend. So
Yeah.
you got to prepare for that, okay?
The states wouldn't even let me in right now, right? So I think once the system is flipping over, I'll be gone. I'm just gonna end in the back
They
of a
took
van,
one
and they're
look at
gonna
your
drive me
profile
off.
and they said, "No way are we letting
Oh
him go
fuck
to
no!
Vegas to
Yeah,
party with the XRP army. No
yeah.
way." Okay, Jack, do you want to expand on this? You know, we face so many problems, and many in the community, like Daniel said, we're trying to create a narrative that we're going to solve all the world's problems. We're going to tokenize everything, and we're all going to get generational wealth, which, you know, everyone knows me and where I stand. I'm here for it. And I've balanced myself out by investing in both sides of that coin. So true intelligence is standing on the edge of that coin and seeing both sides for what they are. You know, I've invested in XRP. Do I like that Ripple's helping all these central banks roll out their CBDCs? Not necessarily. It does have some concerns. I think we have a good fight here to put up in the United States. But other countries, like Daniel says, have gone full 1984, and there's nothing stopping that. So I've invested in that technology, but everybody knows that I also have my little precious metals right here too, my offline assets. And the term that I've come up with is blackout barter, because I can use this when the apps are down, when the systems are down. If you know, the current administration doesn't like who I believe in or my politics, they can't stop me from using this. So I've invested in both sides of that. I position myself accordingly. And my thing is to be vocal and to fight that legal battle here in the United States so that we don't turn into that. If we are going to have a central bank digital currency, I want to, I bring it back to one, we shouldn't even have the Federal Reserve, right? The private group of central bankers that have nothing to do with the United States government. But that's a whole separate conversation that we could talk another hour about. You guys understand that too. They're not really going anywhere. So where I'm at now is we got to put up the fight. We got to resist that 1984 style CBDC and hopefully get something that is a little bit better. And, maybe we could, talk a little bit more on that. But Jack, what's your take as far as the macro situation here, new financial system rollout, and the role that DLT could play?
I think the keyword that you said is balance, because when I was younger, it was like, oh, the world's ending, and you kind of sort of go all in on one thing like the precious metals or whatever. But what you need to do is actually hedge, because if you would drive yourself insane if you just think about the negative aspect of everything all the time, right? So I think people need to learn how to hedge and be a little bit more malleable with their thinking and not think it's either the end of the world or, I mean, you'd probably mostly want to hedge for a good world anyways, because people start having kids and you want your kids to have a good world ahead of them too, right? So I'm sort of like you in the sense that I just kind of try to balance for everything. I have precious metals, I have crypto, a little bit of food saved up, but like you hope for the best and prepare for the worst is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what about like further predictions as far as, tokenizing everything, the internet of value, all these terms, all these narratives that are kind of ran around. Um, when the rubber meets the road, like you said, Daniel, it's pretty abysmal what we've accomplished so far in the space after 10 plus years, right? But we are moving into that. There's a double-sided sword there as far as the capabilities of control and surveillance. Obviously, that's part of that conversation. But as far as where we're at in this timeline and how far we are away from actually starting to see this in every aspect of our lives, and right now we sit at a market cap of $1 trillion, and I forget it. I think it was Monica Long just made a statement about tokenizing and those markets, the tokenization of assets reaching $30 trillion sometime in the next 5 years or something like that. Where do you guys think we are at on that timeline of that mass adoption?
So I'm struggling to get my head around about the whole tokenization thing, right? Because let's just assume now this works from a legal point of view, right? So I can tokenize whatever. Just as an example, I tokenize my car. Let's say it's $100,000, and I created 100 tokens which represent the value of my car, and I'm now trading them on the blockchain. So is that something what we want? Probably not, right? So even if the whole legal stuff is working out. So are we talking about tokenizing stocks? So now you can trade stocks 24/7 on exchanges which are really reflecting the ownership of a real share, like on the stock market. Yeah, I can totally see that happening, right? That kind of makes sense. I need to hear a very good explanation from someone who can explain to me, like I'm 5, why we would want to tokenize everything. Right? I don't get this. I don't think that makes any sense. It's just another thing we lean into where we're saying, oh, that's the future, right? This sounds so cool because at a first glance or on paper, this sounds absolutely cool. Everything is tokenized. All value exists on the ledger. And I can now buy a part of a yacht from someone who's on the other side of the planet for whatever reason, right? Does this make sense? Yes or no? We can argue about that. So tokenizing everything, I don't see this happening in the next 10 years, but I could be wrong about that. In terms of mass adoption, and that's something we keep talking about for the past 10 years. I don't know if we manage to switch, or if we manage to double the number of people who hold any sort of crypto in self-custody over the next 24 months, we did a pretty good job.
Right. And that's a realistic goal.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, look at this. A few years ago, if you told someone, "Oh, what's your email? I'm going to send you an email," and no one would know what that means, right? everyone was using fax machines. As a matter of fact, a lot of stuff in Germany, you can't send them documents via email. You have to send them a fax, which doesn't make any sense, right? And this is now shifting, and we're like over 20 years in using emails. All right, even my government is not fully digitalized, so most of the stuff I need to go in person. So getting mass adoption, something like crypto, is a hard game. However, breaking this down to the XRPL, I know Wietse and the team, they're working on a lot of improvements for the onboarding in some, right? So that's something like, I bump into you in a grocery store and I tell you about this awesome thing, the XRPL, and I'm going to help you set up your Sum wallet in less than a minute, right? That's something that's big. So maybe my problem is sometimes I take a step back and I look at the bigger picture, right? But then after a minute, I'm looking into the finer details and I'm like, shit, we can't even fix that, right? So we can't solve problem A, and you now want me to solve problem Z, right? That's not how it works. We need to get from here to here, and people are blanking out the steps in between, which are minor steps that we have to take in, like crawl, walk, run, right? And everyone wants to run because, and I think that's the crypto bro problem. We think this is the greatest shit since sliced bread. So everyone needs to think the same. Like we're always telling that gamers that NFTs are so super awesome and that's going to revolutionize everything, right? I'm a gamer myself. If you're telling me that my games now have NFTs, I'm like, oh, fuck no, I don't want that. And I'm a crypto person, right? So it's the small things that don't work out. And you want to tell me that we're having this huge step. So like I said, let's double the number of holders. If we come back in 2 years and we have 8 million wallets, that would be a good thing for the XRPL, right? Or 8 million accounts. But at the same time, I would be disappointed and be like, fuck, why didn't we do more? So we need to get more people into this ecosystem, or in crypto in general, right? Ethereum does a way better job than we do.
Yeah. And I think that we in the XRP community have been kind of caught up in that echo chamber without realizing that we're missing the ball on some aspects. And so I agree. And I think that the tokenizing of everything gets misconstrued because everyone thinks that everything's going to get tokenized and everything's going to represent value. When really what you have already is a lot of data is already stored on ledgers that are distributed that don't represent any value. There is no token.
Yeah.
And so I think that for me, I think of it from the perspective of how much more efficient markets get, how much more efficient and seamless our lives get, not so much on, oh, I'm going to be worth $1 billion, but how is it actually going to improve our lives and improve the systems in our world? And so I think that, like you said, just focusing on realistic goals for the XRP community, because that's where we're at right now. And that's what we believe in the most, right? Is the XRP ledger is just doubling the wallet size. Yeah. And then getting up to 10 million, crossing the 10 million wallet threshold, compared to where we're at right now. That's going to be a pretty big task, but I think that we can do it. And I think that setting realistic goals like that, along with the utility, that's what's really going to help, I think, achieve that, is when kids now see that they can invest in NFTs on the XRP Ledger. Now you're going to see folks understand that they can invest in a liquidity pool, the cross-chain capabilities. And I wanted to ask you one more. Are you aware of the XLS 40D, the decentralized identity amendment that they're working on?
I've heard about it, but I haven't looked into it.
Okay. Yeah. I think stuff like that is going to bring more people to the XRP ledger that have been in Ethereum, that have been in these other ones. But then, like you said, when you are onboarding new folks, new businesses, new institutions, the XRPL is the easiest one to use, right? Is that what you said, Daniel?
Yeah. From a if you take everything in consideration, then yes. If you think about how easy it is to set something up, that's a node that makes you talk to the ledger, and you're good in understanding how API works, which means you can read the documentation, right? And then you look into some as a platform you can build on top. It's so super easy, right? Which cuts out a lot of stuff, especially, and I think I haven't said this before, if you're a developer consider building an XRP, a fully fledged out product on some. It's so super easy. You don't have to deal with Apple or Google, right? You can just build something. It's super easy. And we had people that never built apps before. I think Chris Thompson did that. He just built an NFT viewer as well, right? And he was experimenting with all this thing. It's super easy. We just need people to build something, right? If we have 1,000 people build something, 999 things are probably super stupid, but maybe fun. And there will be one product that's actually super cool, right? So the more we build, the more we will fail. The more we fail, the higher the chances are we're learning something that pushes us forward. So yeah, XRPL super easy, documentation super great. Developer community is small but very helpful. So yeah, come on building.
Yeah. All right. So any final last words as we wrap up this session?
Follow us on Twitter at CasinoCoin, and also our Medium, casinocoin.medium.com. And if you want to follow Daniel on Twitter, it's Daniel_WWF. And if you want to follow me, it's at QuadjacksXRP.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm also getting in the influencer game a bit. In case you haven't seen my last awesome reaction video to BitBoy, right? So yeah, I'm getting the swag and stuff. So
I
yeah,
saw that. That was
fun.
amazing.
That was fun. Yeah.
That's what I want. You want to see more developers. I want to see more content from Daniel.
Subscribe to my OnlyFans. Thanks.
Well, guys, it's been a pleasure. And like I said, anybody who's building real utility on the XRP Ledger has a spot on my platform. It was a pleasure to connect with you guys. I'm looking forward to having you guys back on the show sometime and watching the continued development that you guys are building out over there. So I wish you guys all the best success. And it's been an absolute pleasure having you on my show. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right, everyone on the way out, if you appreciate this content, let's make sure you smash that thumbs up, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our future content, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much.